For a lot of people coming from California, New York, or even parts of Texas, Las Vegas feels like a serious upgrade. Nevada has no individual state income tax. The sun shows up like it's on payroll, and you've got newer communities, pro sports, great restaurants, outdoor access, and enough to do that life here rarely feels stuck on repeat. That's why this city keeps pulling people in. The real surprise usually hits after the move, when the little things start changing and Vegas begins making a whole lot more sense than people expected. Some of those changes are obvious, a few of them sneak up on you, and once they do, going back starts to feel like downgrading from streaming back to cable. One of the first things people notice after moving here is that the valley feels pretty manageable once you learn your side of town. The last census numbers put the average commute at about 25.7 minutes in Las Vegas and about 24.3 minutes in Henderson, whereas Los Angeles sits at 30.7 minutes and New York is just over 40. That does not guarantee that your drive will be shorter necessarily because your job and neighborhood, but the difference can be very real for people, coming from larger, more congested cities like we mentioned. Most people also end up building their routine around pretty much one part of the valley. Someone living in Summerlin can handle groceries, the gym, dinner, school drop-off, and a park without driving anywhere near the strip. Typically, we call that the Summerlin bubble. The same thing happens in Henderson, Centennial Hills, Green Valley, and in the Southwest. And that matters because nobody wants Costco Run turning into a cross-country expedition. The weather changes the schedule too. In 2025, Las Vegas recorded 215 fair days and another 123 partly cloudy days, so clear skies are basically the default setting around here. During the cooler months, people can walk after dinner, play golf, hit a neighborhood trail, or head to Red Rock earlier in the morning and get a hike in. Red Rock's scenic drive stays open, as late as 8 p.m. from April through September, which gives people a real chance to use it outside normal working hours. Closer to home, Sunset Park has 214 developed acres and 3.5 miles of walking paths. Clark County Wetlands Park cover over 2,900 acres with an 11-mile loop trail following the Las Vegas Wash. These are places people actually use for morning walks, bike rides, youth sports, and getting the kids out of the house before everyone, starts climbing the walls. That is usually where the change starts showing up. Dinner happens earlier, the backyard gets used, weeknight plans stop feeling ambitious, people start realizing how much of their old schedule was being burned up by traffic, weather, and driving all over creation just to get a normal day. If you're watching this because Las Vegas has been on your mind, my name is Ryan and I'm a local realtor here in Valley, right in the Las Vegas Valley. My real estate team and I help people make sense of the move, from figuring out which part of town actually fits their lifestyle to understanding the whole home buying process here in Las Vegas. You do not need to have every detail figured out before reaching out. Maybe you're 6 months away, maybe it's just an idea, or maybe you've been watching videos for weeks. Your browser has 50 tabs open where you are in the process, right? You can call, text, or email us. We're happy to answer any of your questions, talk through your options, and help you feel a lot more confident about what comes next. When people take that picture of Las Vegas, right, they usually see the strip, casinos, massive hotels, tourists everywhere, and somebody dressed like Spider-Man trying to charge you 20 bucks for a picture that they snuck into of your own. That part of Vegas is real, but it is a very small piece of what living here actually looks like. Most locals are living in regular suburban neighborhoods, spread across the valley. You have parks, trails, schools, shopping centers, the grocery stores, the gyms, community pools, all that everyday stuff people need. In a lot of those areas, the biggest excitement on a Tuesday night is somebody's dog barking at a sprinkler. Summerlin is probably the easiest example to understand. It covers about 22,500 acres on the west side of the valley and has roughly 130,000 residents. There are more than 300 parks and over 200 miles of trails connecting neighborhoods, schools, shopping, community centers. It's all just connected together. Downtown Summerlin gives you restaurants, stores. You have the Las Vegas ballpark where the Aviators play, and City National Arena where the Knights practice. You got Red Rock Canyon is right next door. You can hike in the morning, grab lunch, catch an Aviators game later, and never come close to the Strip. Henderson has its own setup on the southeast side of the valley, where the city has 77 parks, roughly 8 recreation centers, 105 athletic fields, and more than 300 miles of trails. That gives people a lot of options close to home without having to plan their entire day around one outing. Inspirada and Cadence are built around that suburban lifestyle, where you have all those neighborhood parks and pools and splash pads, all those fields and community events. Cadence itself is around 2,200 acres, and its Central Park is close to 50 acres. It also has free Wi-Fi, so there is plenty of room for, kids, dogs, sports, and parents standing on sidelines pretending they understand every single rule of the game. Inspirada feels very community focused, with parks and shared spaces spread throughout the neighborhood. Cadence puts you close to Lake Mead Parkway, downtown Henderson, and the Lake Mead Recreation Area. Both are good examples of how different daily life can feel depending, on where you settle in the valley. Lake Las Vegas has a completely different personality, which nobody expects. It has those waterfront neighborhoods, golf, walking trails, paddleboarding restaurants, and Monalago Village around the marina. It feels removed from the middle of the city, but you are still within a reasonable drive of the airport and Strip if you want to go there. And then up in the northwest, of course, Sky Canyon sits closer to the Spring Mountains. The community was ultimately designed around outdoor living, with all these walking paths and bike lanes and sports fields. You also get newer homes, mountain view, and easier access to Mount Charleston. This is the side of Las Vegas people start seeing once they spend real time here. Daily life happens in places like Summerlin, Henderson, Green Valley, and a lot of smaller neighborhoods in between. The Strip becomes a place you visit for dinner or a concert, a game, or when family comes to town and suddenly decides you are their unpaid tour guide. Once people see how the suburban, the valley really is, Las Vegas starts looking very different. Then they start asking the next question, which is what everyday life looks like once you step outside of your neighborhood. Now, one of the biggest advantages of living in Las Vegas is how many completely different experiences are packed into one city. Just minutes from Summerlin, Red Rock Canyon gives you nearly 200,000 acres of conservation land, a 13-mile scenic drive, and some of the best hiking and climbing in southern Nevada. It is one of those places people travel across the country to visit, and for locals, it can become part of a normal Saturday morning. When the summer heat rolls in, a lot of people head the complete opposite direction, right? Mount Charleston sits thousands of feet higher in elevation than the valley floor, so temperatures can be 20 to 30 degrees cooler. Instead of desert trails, you're surrounded by pine trees, mountain air, and hiking trails that make it easy to forget you're only about an hour from the Las Vegas Strip. If being on the water is more your thing, Lake Mead has over 290 square miles of water for boating, kayaking, paddleboarding, fishing, and camping. Valley of Fire is just another favorite, with massive red sandstone formations and ancient petroglyphs that make it one of the most photographed state parks in Nevada. Then there's everything happening inside the city. You have the Golden Knights, the Raiders, the Aces, and a ton of major events at just Allegiant Stadium alone. Then you bring in T-Mobile Arena, the Sphere, concerts, UFC fights, Formula One, NASCAR, comedy shows, and festivals. There's just so many things to do year round. The biggest difference is that you don't have to plan an entire vacation around these events anymore. They become part of your normal life. The food scene is just as impressive. You can grab Korean barbecue in Chinatown, dinner in downtown Summerlin, explore Water Street in Henderson, or try one of the hundreds of restaurants spread across the valley. And when you feel like getting out of town, Zion National Park, Bryce Canyon, the Grand Canyon, Death Valley, and Southern California are all close enough for an easy weekend road trip. That is one of the biggest lifestyle changes people talk about after moving here. The things people say for vacations become part of everyday life, and weekends stop feeling like something you have to plan months in advance. Money is usually one of the biggest reasons people start looking at Las Vegas, but I think it's important to keep this conversation realistic because everyone's situation is different. A single person working remotely is going to look at numbers differently than a family of 5, and someone moving from LA is going to have a very different experience than someone moving from Dallas. The biggest headline is that Nevada has no individual state income tax. So if you're coming from a state like California or New York, that can be a meaningful difference depending on your income. That doesn't automatically mean you're going to save a fortune, but it is one less line item taking a bite out of your paycheck every year. Housing is another reason people take a hard look at Las Vegas. One thing I like about this market is the variety. Whether you're looking for a condo, a townhome, a single-story home, a luxury property, you have plenty of options across a pretty wide range of price points. Unlike a lot of cities where, inventory can be 40 to 50 years old, Las Vegas has continued building new communities all across the valley. That gives people a chance to buy homes with open floor plans or better energy efficient, smart home technology and community amenities without having to take on a major renovation project. Property taxes are another area where Nevada tends to compare well with many higher tax states. The state's effective property tax rate is among some of the lowest in the country. Although your actual tax bill depends on the property, location, and how it's assessed, then there's the value side of conversation. This isn't always about buying the cheapest house. A lot of people are looking for the home that fits the way they actually want to live. And maybe that's having a 3-car garage instead of street parking. Maybe it's finally having a backyard where the kids can play, space for a home office, or living in a community where parks, trails, and neighborhood pool, all those things are accessible. Those things matter and they're part of the value equation too. One thing I've heard over and over from people after they've moved here is that they feel like they have just more flexibility. For some, that's because of the taxes. For others, it's because they found a home that better fits their budget, or they aren't spending as much time, driving all over the place. Every situation is different, and I never want to pretend Las Vegas is the right financial move for everyone. But for a lot of people, when they sit down and look at the full picture, they decide the numbers make a lot more sense than they expected. Something else I've noticed over the years is that Las Vegas never seems to sit still. Leave for 5 years, come back, and you'll probably find new neighborhoods, new restaurants, new roads, and projects that didn't even exist the last time you were here. This city is constantly growing, and that's one of the reasons so many people are paying attention. Professional sports have completely changed the national perception of Las Vegas. The Golden Knights, the Raiders, the Aces, now we have the Formula One contract, and now the Athletics have turned this city into a major sports destination. That brings jobs, that brings investments, businesses, and a level of national attention Las Vegas didn't have 10 years ago. Transportation is changing too. Brightline West is building a 218-mile high-speed rail connecting Las Vegas to Southern California with the goal of carrying around 9 million passengers a year while creating more than 35,000 construction jobs. That's a massive project that could reshape how people travel between the two regions. Healthcare is expanding right alongside it. Major providers continue investing in new hospitals, specialty care, and medical facilities across the valley, while industries like technology, logistics, advanced manufacturing, and like we talked about, professional sports, they just continue diversifying the local economy beyond tourism. Tourism will always be a huge part of Las Vegas, but it isn't the whole story anymore. Technology companies, distribution centers, and advanced manufacturing are exploding in Las Vegas. On the tech side, Las Vegas is home to one of the largest data centers in the US, providing local high-paying careers. There is also continued discussion around bringing major film and television production to the valley through the proposed Summerlin Studios project, which could create thousands of jobs if it does move forward. It's still a proposal, so it's something worth watching rather than something we can count on today. You can see that growth everywhere. Summerlin just keeps expanding. Henderson continues adding new neighborhoods and communities up in the Northwest, like Sky Canyon, right? Cadence, these are brand new communities in Henderson, along with Inspirata. They're still growing, and wherever new rooftops go, restaurants, shopping, parks, schools usually aren't far behind. That's one of the reasons so many people feel confident putting down roots here. They're not just looking at what Las Vegas is today, they're looking at where it's headed, and they like the direction it's going. As great as Las Vegas is, no city is perfect, and there are a few things I'd want to know before making that move. First, the summers are no joke. Triple-digit temperatures are a normal part of July and August, and 110 degrees those days definitely happen. The good news is people adjust pretty quickly. You start doing things earlier in the day, or evenings become your best friend. And yes, you'll eventually catch yourself saying, it's a dry heat. Construction is another reality of living here. The valley keeps growing, so you'll see road projects, new neighborhoods, and new shopping centers popping up all over town. It can slow you down once in a while, but it's also a sign the city is continuing to invest in itself. Water is always part of the conversation, and for good reason. Southern Nevada has spent decades investing in conservation. About 99% of water used indoors is clean, treated, and returned to Lake Mead, and the region has removed more than 250 million square feet of decorative grass to reduce water use over the years. It's something local leaders take seriously because living in the desert means planning for the future, not just the next summer. Auto insurance is another thing worth checking before you move. Rates here can be higher than national average depending on your driving history, the vehicle you own, and where you choose to live. So it's a good idea to get a few quotes before making the move. Traffic really depends on your perspective. If you're moving from LA, you'll probably laugh the first time, someone here complains about traffic. If you're coming from a smaller town, it may feel busy at first. Either way, where you choose to live has a huge impact on how much time you'll spend in the car every day. That brings me to what I think is the biggest point. Choosing Las Vegas is only half the decision. Choosing the right neighborhood is just as important. And Summerlin has a different feel than Henderson, and Inspirada feels completely different than Sky Canyon, and Green Valley feels different from Centennial Hills. So finding the area that matches your lifestyle is usually the difference between simply liking where you live and absolutely loving it. A conversation I've had more times than I can count goes something like this. Ryan, our only regret is that we didn't move sooner. Life still happens, you still have to go to work, fold laundry, and the dog still thinks 6 in the morning on a Saturday is the perfect time for a walk. What changes is everything around those everyday moments. People spend more time outside. The backyard actually gets used. Morning coffee moves the patio. Evening walks become part of the routine. You settle into a lifestyle where getting outside feels normal instead of something you have to plan for. Then there's something nobody warned you about. The minute your friends and family hear you live in Las Vegas, everybody suddenly has a reason to visit. Before long, you're taking them to Red Rock, downtown Summerlin, Water Street, or your favorite local restaurant, and almost every visit ends the same way. I had no idea Las Vegas was like this. That's usually when people realize they found the lifestyle they were looking for all along. It wasn't one big moment that changed everything. It's all these little things that slowly become your new normal, and that's why so many people tell me they wish they had made that move years earlier. If Las Vegas has been on your radar, my name's Ryan again, and I'm a local realtor here in the Valley. My real estate team and I help people make this move every single week, and we'd love to help you too. Whether you're planning to move next month or you're still a year away, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email. We're happy to answer your questions, talk through your options, and help you figure out which part of the Valley fits your lifestyle. And if you're not ready yet, that's completely okay too. You're still in research mode. I get that. Moving to a new city is a big decision, and you should have as much information as possible before making it. So you can keep exploring right here on my channel. I put together other videos like this, to help you with this decision. And those are popping up on your screen for you to choose which one you want to watch next right now.